The Seattle Mariners have announced their starting rotation for the start of the season. And naturally, Mariners Twitter lost their collective minds.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone?
I was going to have another video about Mariners Twitter losing their collective minds out today, but this one just kind of takes precedent. Now, this was said by Ryan Divish. However, Seattle Mariners on Tap, our friends over on Twitter, did tell us all about this. They said, so it looks like the Mariners pitching rotation will be exactly this to start the season. 1 Castillo, 2 Ray, 3 Gilbert, 4 Marco Gonzalez, and 5 George Kirby. So you can imagine where Mariners Twitter is losing their mind. George Kirby slotted in as the number 5 with Marco as the number 4. Where's Chris Flexen? Why is George Kirby in the 5 spot? Oh my gosh, Robbie Ray is the 2? I can't believe this. Those are the general takes from Mariners Twitter. But honestly, for the Mariners, this rotation makes a hell of a lot of sense. First and foremost, just on a basic level, you're going right, left, right, left, right. I mean, it's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. Who really cares about righty-lefty matchups on any given day? But hey, if that's what you want to do with your rotation, right, left, right, left, right, perfect. You can do that very, very easily with this rotation. It is no question that Luis Castillo should be the opening day starter, and the Mariners announced as such on Twitter yesterday. But after his poor outings in the postseason last year, Robbie Ray at number 2 is just the worst thing in the world to Mariners Twitter. Don't get me wrong, I love Mariners Twitter, I'm a part of Mariners Twitter, and the collective meltdown is kind of a bonding process between all of us over there. But I feel like we need to explain this one and why the rotation being set up like this isn't that big of a deal. First and foremost, let's look at the Mariners schedule. Obviously, opening day on the 30th. Luis Castillo is going to get the ball that day. And with the rotation set up like this, it will go as follows. Castillo, then Ray, and then Gilbert, and then Marco Gonzalez, and then George Kirby against the Angels. And then it would go Castillo, Robbie Ray, and then an off day. Now, these off days are important because they come once a week, of course, in at least this month, and honestly, for most of the season. Thursdays are generally a day that the Mariners are going to be off. If you were to go Castillo and then Ray, you could actually technically skip Marco's start if you really wanted to. Of course, you go Castillo, Ray, and then Gilbert on the 7th. Then the 8th, you could go to Kirby. And at that point, you're getting enough time and rest for Castillo and Ray to go again against Cleveland and then Chicago on the 10th, which will put it at Castillo, Ray, Gilbert, Marco, and then an off day. So if you're not sold on Marco's ability to pitch in these high leverage games, you don't have to have him in these games in April. I'm not saying that the Mariners are going to do that. I'm just saying they do have that opportunity that if they really wanted to, they could basically go with a 4-man rotation in the start of April. Once you get a little bit deeper into the season, the off days are a little bit fewer and farther between. Of course, then you're only off every other Thursday at some points. And then, yeah, it's just kind of a crapshoot from there. The other big reason for this, honestly, in my opinion, the most important reason is the innings pitched for George Kirby. In 2022, George Kirby threw a lot of innings, 130 at the major league level, and then with the 2 minor league teams, he threw 26. So we're looking at 156, we'll call it 157 innings for George Kirby. That's almost 100 innings more than he threw in 2021 when he only threw 67.2. The fact of the matter is, George Kirby threw more innings last year than he did in the entire rest of his career. The Mariners are going to be very, very cognizant of the idea that George Kirby is going to be on a theoretical innings limit. They're not going to say that they're limiting his innings, but just like last year when they sent him down right before the All-Star break to get a little bit of extra rest, the Mariners are going to be cognizant of the amount of innings pitched that George Kirby is accruing. Over a 162 game season, the opening day starter for you generally will make between 32 and 34 starts if they stay healthy the whole year. For Kirby, pitching at the back end of that rotation, of course, they could also choose to skip a start here and there, but if they really do want to kind of limit the action that Kirby sees in an effort to keep him healthy for another playoff run, they could certainly use the way of skipping a start for Kirby as a way to keep his inning limit down. Now, with that being said, of course, not all innings are created equal. If you go out there and throw a 3-pitch inning, yeah, that's really not that big of an inning. The Mariners like to employ what they call stress innings. Stress innings where a pitcher has to throw a lot of pitches definitely take more of a toll than an inning where you're out of it in just a few pitches. For George Kirby, I think that the Mariners really want to see him avoid those high stress innings in an effort to keep him healthy. And if George Kirby does find himself in trouble, if he has a bit of a sophomore slump, they most certainly could, like I said, skip one of his starts, or if they really want to, they can skip Marco's start along the way. They could also at some point, again, in an effort to keep George Kirby and even Logan Gilbert healthy and kind of limit their innings, they could move Chris Flexen back into the rotation for a short time every once in a while just to get them on a 6-man rotation, and then they could use that 6-man as a buffer to maybe extend a start out another day, and in the end, maybe George Kirby finishes with 28 or 29 starts. Kirby started 25 games for the Mariners in 2022 with only 130 innings. That averages out to about 5 2/3 inning per start, and for the Mariners, they definitely limited innings for Kirby down the stretch in an effort to keep him healthy for the postseason. The Mariners will not see a team like the Houston Astros until the beginning of May, and we all know how bad the Mariners have been in May throughout the last few years. So while lining up the rotation like this may not be the best way to deploy your pitchers to get them in the right spot, a la having it go Castillo and then maybe Gilbert and Kirby against Houston at the beginning of May, keeping them healthy for the long stretch run is far and away a bigger deal for you than hopefully playing matchups 2 to 3 months down the line. In the end, I don't think that the rotation really matters that much in terms of how pitchers are deployed. And I bet you if you were to ask the guys out there on the mound, they probably don't care either. And for the 2023 season, of course, it's always so hard to predict what's going to happen. But Joe did his best to do that over on MLB The Show 23, where he simulated the Mariners season. Do you think they made the playoffs? Go ahead and check that video out on the screen now. I appreciate you guys watching this one, and go Mariners.